Hello, everybody, and welcome to These Dogs Are Barking, the podcast about all facets of dog behavior. This is your host, Bob Theuring, along with our resident dog expert, John Preston Smith, author of 14,000 Dogs Later, the book that tells about John's handling and training of more than 14,000 dogs over the past 48 years. And having been a radio host, I've turned my talents toward working with John on this program.
Our flagship program last week laid out some of the topics we will be attacking in the coming weeks. But tonight we're going to cover some of the most frequently asked questions I have received recently and over the years from students in my classes. These are also covered in my book.
Okay, so why do we want to start with a question and answer program instead of just going straight to problem solving?
Well, Bob, what do you believe is the most important part of any building?
I would think the foundation.
Right this second, I could tell folks how to train their dogs to sit, stay, down, heel, come, go on guard, stop jumping, stay in the yard, don't take food from strangers, stay off the furniture, and on and on. However, having a general understanding of dog behavior before attempting to train your dog on the end of the leash for 30 minutes a day is incredibly important.
Okay, we'll give an example.
Have you ever been to a meeting where there's a general buzzing sound from all of the different discussions going on?
Well, certainly. I think we all have.
And when it's time to begin the meeting, somebody pounds the gavel saying, "May I have your attention?"
Okay. So basically what you're saying is you've got to have your dog's attention before any training can really begin.
Having someone's attention is the foundation for all aspects of teaching. My point is this. Before jumping ahead to training technique, behavior modification, and problem solving, let's lay the groundwork, a foundation, if you will, for understanding what and who we are dealing with. Here's my final analogy. If you want to housebreak, crate train, and understand why dogs run the fence line or pull on the lead line, we will arrive at those answers by knowing about wolves. Therefore, we're going to spend a couple of weeks reviewing the most asked questions and concerns that come from my dog training students.
Okay, understood. But first, numerous folks listening last week asked to hear another of your stories about dog behavior, and I always love to hear them, John, so let's hear one.
Well, this week's pretty much comes straight from my daughter, Catherine. Catherine has two Labradors, Cody, who let's say was like 10 years old, and the new pup, Sky, which is 2 years old. Catherine uses a particular vet. She has taken her dogs to this veterinarian, and she has had this veterinarian come to their house. Last month, it was time to put Cody, the older dog, down. When the vet showed up at Catherine's house, the young 2-year-old dog growled and barked at him, did not want to let him in the house. Catherine finally had Sky move over beside Cody, and the vet came in the door. And Sky continued to sit at Cody's side, barking and growling at the vet. So the question is, in reality, what kind of dog behavior was that, and how are we supposed to interpret that?
Well, and that's like I said last week, what are we supposed to understand about dog behavior? Why were Sky's actions like that? That was different from before, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So again, dog behavior is easy to identify, difficult to explain. First, let's see what our listeners think, and then over the coming weeks, my opinion regarding this phenomenon will gradually surface.
Okay. Well, I love these stories, John. They're my favorite part of the program, I think. So, now, tonight's program, John's going to answer some of the most asked, most unusual, or most unexpected questions that you, our listeners, have submitted.
Well, let's start with the question voted most unexpected by our panel of professionals. And just so you know, the panel of professionals is Bob Theuring and John Preston Smith.
Okay, so question one. I've got to make it clear that this question is not mine. It came from a listener. Here's what it is. My dog is eating his stool. What can I do? Wow.
Well, the term for eating the dung of animals is coprophagia. It means your dog is eating his own or the feces of another dog. This nasty habit bears loads of conjecture as to why. Is he trying to get your attention? Is he unhealthy? Can it be attributed to separation anxiety? Maybe he's underfed or his diet is lacking, and probably the worst guesstimation, does he do it for attention?
Okay, so what's to be done?
Well, first, obviously, ask your veterinarian. He can rule out most of the possibilities. He might suggest homemade or commercial food additives that may worsen the taste of the feces. Personally, I'm not sure how much worse dung can taste, but fortunately, I don't have the taste buds of a dog.
Okay, and if it's none of the above?
Then it could be plain old boredom, and your pet shop could make appropriate suggestions.
Okay, great. Well, I'm kind of anxious to get to number 2.
All right, shoot.
I think this one's some kind of a disease. This is the question. Anthropomorphism.
Well, you did pronounce it correctly,
Good.
but it's a disease only to the extent to which it is applied. Anthropomorphism is giving human characteristics to animals, in this case to dogs. An example would be to burden your dog with the ability of having intentions. This, however, is a great subject that we will spend significant time on in a future program.
I'm looking forward to that one. That's a common thing I see. Okay, another question. Is it okay to allow your dog to stick his head out of the car window at 40 miles per hour?
Well, is protecting your dog's eyes less important than protecting your own? Motorcyclists riding without windshields wear full face helmets, goggles, or glasses. Why? Because cinders, sand, bugs can damage your eyes. I highly recommend that you keep all parts of your dog behind the same windshield that protects you.
Okay. This is a common one, and one that's I'm curious myself is, are black labs smarter than yellow labs?
And this collar distinction comes up from a lot of different breeds. There is no research indicating that coloring of labs, or any breed for that matter, affects intelligence or trainability.
Okay. What is a dog's most tender possession? What part of his body does he or she most protective of?
Don't step on his feet is a phrase I have used thousands of times when training handlers of dogs. Softly handling your puppy's feet as soon as you get him home from the breeder is critical. Take your time, just a little each day until he is comfortable. Teaching him to shake hands is good. If you allow toddlers or children to lie on or wrestle with your dog, which I do not think is a good idea, teach them not to jump on or fall on the feet of the dog. You should be able to handle his feet for cleaning, grooming, trimming nails, pulling splinters, etc. Remember, they are his most tender possession.
Okay, this next question, in simple terms, what's the proper procedure for trimming nails?
Purchase good trimmers at your local pet shop. The first week your puppy is home, practice handling his feet while showing him the trimmers and touching them to his feet. The second week you can begin to tip his nails. That means removing the smallest amount of the nail. As he grows, if you continue to tip his nails, they will never get too long and you will never cut into the quick, which is the part that bleeds. Many breeders say that dogs' nails are too long if they make a clicking sound when walking on a wooden floor.
What is bloat?
Bloat is not necessarily deadly, but when the stomach twists, bloat turns into a serious gastric problem, and it's a terrible way for your dog to die. Some vets think that certain breeds have a predisposition to this condition based on their size. Many years ago, I lost a German Shepherd to bloat, and it may have been my own fault. After he had eaten, we played Frisbee. The veterinarian believed the intake of food, water, and air caused the stomach to bloat, and the Frisbee chasing caused the stomach to twist. I did not notice his bloated abdomen until later when he was attempting to throw up. By the time I got my dog to the vet, it was too late. Bloat can also be exacerbated by allowing your dog to bolt water after eating dry food. Water causes the dry food to expand in his stomach. So here's the caution. Do not exercise your dog immediately after he eats or drinks. And here's a suggestion. Put both food and water on a raised platform and consider one of the new feeding bowls that have prongs in them to slow consumption of food. It keeps your dog also from bolting his food.
Okay, here's another one. What's the easiest way to housebreak a dog? I know that's not going to be a simple answer, but maybe it is.
Well, interestingly, this is the most frequent question asked. Remember this, dogs are born housebroken. That's a fact as exact as radar. It's you and I that alter this housekeeping or house cleaning fact.
Okay, this you've got to explain.
Well, simple. When pups are born, their mother feeds, stimulates, and cleans them because she does not want a messy whopping box. Once the pups can walk, they amble to the far end of the whopping box, relieve themselves, and then they return to nurse next to their mother's side. So when you take your pup home, if you follow these 4 steps, your dog will continue his good housekeeping habit. Number 1, teach your dog to use a crate.
Okay. If we get questions from folks out there needing help with how to train a dog, maybe that's one we can cover in one of our future programs.
Sure. Based on the fact that wolves are cave animals, it's easy and simple to crate train your pup. The second tip is to take your dog outside on a regular schedule. Take your dog outside after every meal. And take your dog outside if you see him wandering about the house sniffing around. He's probably attempting to stimulate himself. I guarantee you this. If you follow these 4 steps, your dog will be housebroken within 2 weeks.
Okay, and I think a lot of people complicate that process. That's a great tip. Now, and in fact, John has recorded this housebreaking process, and it's actually posted on YouTube. There's a link directly on the website, and if you go to YouTube, you can also search for the tip as well. And if you can't find it, just send us an email. We'll send you a direct link to the YouTube URL. So, okay, here's another one. Are raisins or grapes bad for my dog?
It's my understanding, Bob, that an overindulgence of either can cause a toxicity that can lead to renal failure. Signs are vomiting, diarrhea, and shaking. Once again, call your vet. You can add onions and certain nuts to the list of no-nos. The most common toxic food source for your pet is chocolate. Keep your dog out of the kitchen.
Okay. And with that, folks, we are out of time. Remember, you can get to us with your questions and comments at thesedogsarbarking@gmail.com. And if you want immediate behavior and training answers, check out John's book on our website. In closing, this is Bob Theuring and John Preston Smith reminding you, as always, that these dogs will be barking at you again next Monday evening. Tune in, give a listen, and let us know what you think.